this edition of Native Report. Come with us to the 35th Annual Veterans Day Powwow on the Lac Courte Oreilles Reservation in Wisconsin. Visit the Office of Special Trustee in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and hear about the hot topics at the National Congress of American Indians 67th Annual Convention. We'll also hear from the elders and learn something new about Indian country on this Native Report.
Production of Native Report is made possible by grants from the Shakopee-Mdewakanton Sioux Community, the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe, and the Blandin Foundation.
Welcome to the premiere episode of our 6th season of Native Report. I'm Stacy Thunder. Veterans of the armed services, Native American and non-Native, are held in high esteem across Indian country. One celebration held annually on the Lac Courte Oreilles Reservation in Wisconsin honors sacrifices by these men and women who have honorably served their country in times of peace and in times of conflict.
Powwows are often outdoor celebrations, but on this cool fall day, the drums, dancers, and honored guests are inside the Lac Courte Oreilles Ojibwe School Gymnasium.
Put your hands together for our dancers, ladies and gentlemen. Looking good. Today is the 35th annual Veterans Day Powwow, and this started at the old Lac Courte Oreilles School up in the old village of New Post. And the teachers at that time organized this event here, and of course 35 years later here we are, a nice event that's well organized by the school itself. To me it's a very special meeting here on Lac Courte Oreilles. Why? Because as we look on the walls here we have all types of different designs that were created by the children here, and so for me to have the children do all this for our veterans, it really touches you in the heart. And for me, it's a real great occasion.
Native cultures have a long history of honoring veterans, as they are the ones making personal sacrifices for others.
The elders, when I was coming up, I always went to powwows as I grew up. I can't remember when I started dancing, but I was introduced to the veterans there, and they said, "Oh, we're welcoming the veterans. We got a veterans song." And back when you're a child, you don't really pay too much attention, so I think it was sort of like it is now. But as I grew older, okay, and I joined the service when I was 17, it became more evident to me that the veterans had a very high place in society. And these, every time I come home on leave, my uncle or my father would say, "Stay in there. We'll always be here for you." And when you get out, you will see a big difference in your role as a soldier and as a citizen. And so when I got out of the service, every ceremony that the culture has for the Ojibwe revolves around the Ogechidag or the Ogechidag Play, Big Drum Society, the Day Society, the powwows, and you have an important role you have to play in, like today, head veteran. I'm responsible for, in case drop feathers, I have to go down, retrieve it, make a decision, talk for it, or have them dance for it. And so there's, you know, and it became very evident to me that we have a very important role here in our society.
On a per capita basis, American Indians have a higher rate of veterans than any other group in the country. If you take the number of veterans and compare it to the population, we have the highest rate of people in the service. So we've had a long history of honoring our veterans before any world wars, certainly, and certainly since the World War started and our people have served in the armed forces. We've been very proud of our veterans and always honored them. even if it's not a veterans powwow like today, there's always a veteran song that starts out every powwow that I've ever been at. So Indian people really honor our veterans, and this is our special event here for honoring our veterans here.
Involvement by the Ojibwe school staff and students is an important part of the powwow celebrating its 36th year in 2011, and they have been there from the very beginning.
It's our school en masse as a committee serves on different parts for cooking, for cleaning, for decorating, for cleaning up, for fundraising. Everything almost is just the school. We work on it. We get funding from outside, our tribal government, our casino, different entities support us, but it's largely our school that puts on this powwow. The signs all around the arena are put on by the kids from the school, different grades. We have a little contest for them to decorate the walls. Even this room here is decorated with designs for buttons. The kids submit designs for our powwow buttons, and the powwow buttons we have are usually chosen by elementary students have one button, older kids have another button. So we probably have 2 different buttons that the kids make designs for, and the banners are in the gym. The kids work on those. It might be a class in like K through 5. Beyond that, it might be a club or another class that will work on it. So all the classes decorate it.
It is a lot of work, but for me, to keep busy is fun for me. We have like 200, almost 200 every year veterans registered for the powwow. And we have them, they start calling, I would say, like in September, asking about the powwow. And this year we mailed out some powwow posters out to different cities around the area, or towns. And we've had people calling back saying that they've never heard of the powwow before and they would like to attend it. And that was good. That's really makes me feel good that they would want to come.
Just as Miller stated, this celebration is open to the community and especially for all veterans, Native and non-Native alike.
We are honoring just our tribal veterans, but all veterans. I was at one of the first powwows in this millennium, and we were giving out our gifts to the veterans and doing honoring songs for them. And one of the veterans who is not a tribal member or not a member of any tribal nation, he said that this was the first time that anyone ever honored him as a veteran. So we always do it, and so always our Indian people are always honoring our veterans, and that was the first time that he was honored. It's incredible that his people, that the American people, didn't honor him as a veteran. It's just amazing, and we always do it.
Currently, we have 9 or 10 tribal members that are presently serving. I would tell our young people for the duty and for the honor. Douglas MacArthur always said, duty, honor, and country. And that's the same for our tribes throughout the United States. We have that feeling within you that we want to serve not only our tribe but the country, and that it's a great honor and come home and be a part of the society that the warriors have, and not be afraid to serve our country. You know, whether in peacetime or in a time of conflict, it's a great honor, and it bestows a lot of honor on yourself, but also for your tribe and your family.
While this powwow is much like other powwows with dancing, socializing, and feasting, the main reason for gathering is to honor the veterans.
We can't forget those who have served for our country here, for our homeland. I know some people say, well, how come Indian people honor veterans when the country took their land away and destroyed our language and all these other things? But we still have our land, we still have our language, we still have our ways, we still have our ceremonies that we do every year. So we still have all those ways, and people. We have the American Religious Freedom Act that protects our very customs and ways of life, and that's what I guess this is what this powwow is about, even protecting those ways of being able to honor our own people, to preserve our ways by practicing our own religion and customs. And so this is what it's all about. I mean, we're just a small part of America, but we are an important part of America. We like to believe that and tell our children that they are important, what they do every day, what they do. They're important people.
Did you know that in 1996, Eloise Cobell filed an historic lawsuit against the United States Department of the Interior and the Treasury Department? Cobell alleged that the federal government was in breach of its trust responsibility to over 250,000 American Indians with individual Indian money accounts. These accounts were supposed to be managed by the Interior Department. Cobell alleged that the accounts were mismanaged and the department could not tell individuals how much was in their accounts in an accurate way. The case is one of the largest class action lawsuits in American history and is a direct result of provisions of the General Allotment Act of 1887. On December 8, 2010, a $3.4 billion settlement was announced. $1.4 billion was allocated to plaintiffs in the suit, and $2 billion was provided for land purchases. President Barack Obama signed the legislation in December of 2010, and a federal judge will oversee the implementation of the settlement.
The Office of Special Trustee for American Indians was created by an act of Congress in 1994. Located in Albuquerque, New Mexico, the office oversees the fiscal management of trust assets for beneficiaries, including Native nations, individual Indians, and Alaska Natives.
Minutes from downtown Albuquerque, the Office of Special Trustee for American Indians looks like any other building. The personnel within, however, hold tremendous responsibility in carrying out their federally mandated mission.
The special trustee was really a person to come in and oversee all of leasing of the land, making sure there's compliance on land, conservation of the land, and all the financial activities. So it was like an overseer, someone to come in and look at how we were making sure that all of these things are being accomplished, implemented, and then be able to talk about how do we need to move forward to bring all of this into 20th century accounting and processing, and also the conservation of the land. Originally, the Office of the Special Trustee was created to be an oversight. They were to come in and look at new systems, how we institute systems, how we institute controls, training, looking at all of the assets, the trust assets that belong to both individual Indians and tribes. As we moved on in the next summer, after the Reform Act was actually enacted, we then received some operational duties. We have the accounting across the country at all the agencies running from Alaska to Washington, D.C. So we now have that accounting duties, we have the investment duties, reconciliation of the financial assets, all the money. So we invest that, we receive it, and we also do the disbursements and reporting to the beneficiaries.
Created by Congress under the 1994 American Indian Trust Fund Management Reform Act, the office and its personnel has assumed additional duties and services.
The thinking at that point was that the Assistant Secretary of Indian Affairs and the then Special Trustee decided that they needed to move it away from the realty staff that's also doing the leasing, so it gives that independence. We then, in 2007, have the Office of Historical Trust Accounting that moved over to our office, and they're the ones that are working on historical accountings involved in such things as the Cobell or the tribal litigation cases, and they've been working on that part of this. We have put in controls. If we have a farmer who's leasing land, that land used to be these checks to pay for that land would be handed over at the agency in 100 different locations. And now all those checks go to one location. We refer to it as the lockbox. We deposit all those checks the same day. And we had about 77% of the funds that came through the lockbox that actually went to the individual's accounts in 2 days. And that's just incredible when you go back in history and look at the manual process that it used to take to be able to get this money to people. I mean, it would be within the year they would hope to get their money sometimes. So this has just been incredible, some of the electronic processes that we put in place to be able to get money to them in a quicker manner.
Historically, the Indian Trust evolved from a series of congressional actions and subsequent policy, but it is the class action lawsuit brought by Eloise Cobell that forced the BIA to look at its accounting practices.
I'm sure you've heard the stories of, at one point, how records were being stored in sheds and barns, and the importance of those records are always something that they're very important for us to keep. Now, we will hear, oh, a record was destroyed. Well, being in government, we normally have more than one copy of that record. So sometimes when we hear a record's destroyed or it was in these horrible conditions, it doesn't mean we've lost that record. It means we've lost that copy of that record. It's a real advantage for us to keep these records because we're able to prove we've accomplished what we've said that we were going to accomplish.
On the Morning Native Report visited the Office of Special Trustee, Congress passed legislation to settle the Cobell suit, and part of that settlement will go toward buying up fractionated lands.
One of the parts of that is the large $2 billion to buy up fractionation from people that are voluntarily would like to sell, have very small parts of land. And you don't have really parts of land. It's what you refer to as tenants in common. So every grain of dirt that you pick up or grain of sand that you would pick up belongs to hundreds of people. So they share in that. And so a lot of people would be willing to sell those very, very small parcels that they have. So we will be moving forward with that. So there'll be a lot of activity. Very excited about it. A lot of exciting things could happen. And I think it will give Interior, BIA, OST the ability to move on with the beneficiaries and not be in that litigation mode. So I think this will be very positive. I heard this morning, saw the little news flash that is being discussed today in the lame duck session of Congress. So there is hope that that might pass. And at that point, another reason we're looking for all the whereabouts unknowns. That sort of ties back to we really, really need to find those people because there will be funds that they'll be wanting to collect. So we will have funds, even if right now they only have land, they will have funds if once the Cobell litigation passes.
The responsibilities of the Principal Deputy Special Trustee are many, and with her staff, they're committed to correcting past oversights.
We have about 80% of our staff are American Indians. They're enrolled members of tribes, and as we move through the building, and you'll see these people hard at work. And when we do the surveys for our employees, the mission is something that's so critical, and they are so proud that they are leaving a legacy. They feel like they're doing something that has never been accomplished.
One of the things that my dad used to always tell me is to teach what you've learned. Teach what you've learned to others and guide them through the steps of what they need to do. So I try to do that with young women. I work with the Miss Indian Arizona scholarship program at home in Arizona, and so we have a statewide competition, and so we work with young leaders, and many of those women have become tribal chairwomen, they've become council members, highly educated, so that's a real note of pride for me. So I think people should get out and get involved in the fairs on the reservation. You should get to know your people well. You should get to know your tradition as best as you can, and just to talk with people.
The National Congress of American Indians has met annually since 1943 to discuss issues of common interest to Native nations across Indian country. Relying on the strength of Native people and the independence of their governments, NCAI seeks to build strong tribal nations to make a stronger America.
The All-Indian Pueblo Council hosted the National Congress of American Indians' 67th Annual Convention in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Council President Joe Garcia addressed the change brought about by the 2010 midterm elections.
One of the greatest challenges that I'll tell you about in New Mexico is that we've had a big change in leadership. The governorship and the administration changes is happening, it's going to happen at the beginning of the year. And so the Pueblos and the nations here must be ready for whatever comes our way because of the administration change. Just as we were getting ready for the Obama change, Indian country came together with a lot of ideas, with a lot of resolutions, a lot of solutions for a lot of those things that have ailed us for the many, many years. And so it's the same thing that's going to happen in New Mexico, that we've got to be ready. But it's not just New Mexico, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be all over the states because you've had elections. You've had your local changes. I'd like to see a lot more Indian people at the congressional levels, but I think it comes in phases and it comes in steps. So we've got to prepare for that. And so with this working together, spirit of unity, spirit of working together, and the theme for this session, Strong Indian Nation, provides for a strong nation overall. We will be the guiding light for the rest of America.
Assistant Secretary for Indian Affairs Larry Echohawk, keynote speaker from the 2009 conference, introduced Secretary of the Interior Ken Salazar.
You know, in prior administrations, frankly, the issues relating to the nation's First Americans were not a priority. And because they were not a priority, you could not have the leadership like we have with Larry Echohawk and the rest of his team in place. And without that kind of leadership, the issues that you care about so much and you work on every day simply would not be done. Another issue which remains at the forefront of all of our minds is the settlement of the long-running Cobell litigation. I believe that the settlement that we put together last December regarding the U.S. trust obligations is both fair and forward-looking. With the approval of the settlement by Congress, hopefully, maybe even in the next several weeks, a fund totaling $1.5 billion will be distributed to class members to compensate them for their historic accounting claims and to resolve potential claims that prior U.S. officials mismanaged the administration of trust assets.
One high point during the first General Assembly was the recognition of New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson for his tireless work for Native people and causes.
I'm proud to be considered a champion of the Native American peoples. I felt when I was a congressman, I chaired the first Native American subcommittee. And we've come a long way also in the Congress, but also at the state here in New Mexico. In our state, we're fortunate to have more than 200,000 Indian citizens and 22 sovereign tribes, nations, and pueblos. I made commitments to tribal leaders and the Indian people in our state, and I believe we fulfilled them. Here in New Mexico, we've done well, but we must repeat what we've done here on a national level.
At a media conference, NCAI President Jefferson Keel expanded on the theme of the gathering and offered hope for positive relationships with congressional leaders.
The theme of this year's conference is Strong Tribal Nations, Strong America. We've spoken about that. We are part of the fabric of this great country, and everything that strengthens our tribal governments in turn strengthens America. It's a matter of educating those new congressmen coming on, and our staff in Washington do a great job of communicating with those staff, those incoming staff, talking about how we can best sit down with them and educate them, bring them up to speed on where we stand on the issues, And it is a matter of bipartisan support.
Since 1944, the National Congress of American Indians has been working to inform the public and Congress on the governmental rights of American Indians and Alaska Natives. One way this is achieved is through their annual gathering. NCAI also holds a winter session legislative summit and a mid-year conference. All three events address a broad range of policy matters in an effort to advocate on behalf of tribal governments.
For more information about Native Report or the stories we've covered, look for us on the web at nativereport.org. Thank you for spending this time with your friends and neighbors in Indian Country. I'm Stacy Thunder. See you next time on Native Report.
Stacy Thunder is a member of and legal counsel for the Red Lake Nation, and Tad Johnson is a member of the Boys Fort Band of Chippewa and is chair for the American Indian Studies Department on the campus of the University of Minnesota Duluth.